At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability, ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Having a life scholarship and being able to afford to go to college made me feel inspired to go.
When I got a life scholarship, it was such a relief.
I knew that I wanted to have an impact. Having a life scholarship through the SC Education Lottery was huge. It gave me the opportunity to make that impact right here at home.
The South Carolina Education Lottery. A better you, a better us, a better South Carolina. Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
And we welcome you into the Hannycast for Tuesday, June the 24th. I'm Charles Hanagriff, along with former Tiger coach Dan Canevari. And we're brought to you by Marucci. From a backyard shed to the top of the game, Marucci, more than just a baseball bat company, a legacy built on passion and precision with 2 decades of crafting the finest wood, metal, and leather in the sport. Here to help you run the game, visit MarucciSports.com to gear up with the best. And if you're looking for anything LSU, go to Everything LSU and buy you apparel made by locals, shipping from Baton Rouge. They do terrific logos, designs, promotional items to help promote your business. Is one of the very few official LSU licensees that buy you apparel. You can also call them at 928-9090, 225-928-9090, or go to the website everythinglsu.com. LSU wins their 8th national championship. Cano, how you doing, buddy?
It's a great week in Baton Rouge. What everybody was hoping for, and what I think Jay Johnson, his staff and club expected, is the 8th national championship. It's great for Baton Rouge, great for the state of Louisiana.
I want to kind of work backwards here, and we're going to go through the games and talk about them. But Dan, when you look at everything that is required of this job, and you know it as well as anybody, you sat right there at Skip's side for better than a decade. It's not just the baseball part in the dugout and the practices and the recruiting and the, I would say, intensive media requirements that you have, and the fans and the expectations, the responsibility you carry. This is a hard job. Yes, you've got a lot of resources to work with. Okay, no question about it. But this is a hard job to do it all well. And Jay Johnson has aced the test more than once. So you can speak way better than I can about the total demands of this job, and being good at everything is really, really tough. And he's done it.
Well, he's done it, and it shifted when I was coaching with Skip, especially in the early years. And Charlie, you were around for that. The coach had to do everything, like cut the grass, drag the infield, sell the fence signs. It was a different kind of do everything. And of course, I'll always credit Skip for changing college baseball, not only in the state of Louisiana, but in the SEC, but in college baseball itself. The job has evolved where the everything has changed, meaning you got groundskeepers now, you got people selling ads, you got those things to build your program's built. Now you're fighting everybody else in the nation that's done the same thing LSU did and provided that support, because they ADs figured out you can make money at baseball, or at least lose less, and it's a very popular sport. What Jay's doing now is he's the best at doing everything that's required of the job now. He's a intense recruiter. He's an unbelievable game planner. He's shown he's a great team builder. I mean, he's 24/7. He's a hard worker. And people say this is kind of a cliche, but it's really true. Every team takes on the personality of their head coach. With all the pressure that goes with LSU, with all the pressure that goes in the College World Series and the pressures of NIL and recruiting and everything else, I don't think any person, with the exception of maybe Skip Bertman, could handle it with the grace and calmness that Jay Johnson has done.
To say nothing of the fact that the calendar doesn't do you any favors, okay? If you're successful, the transfer portal was opened couple weeks ago. Okay, so you have a lot of players that are changing addresses before you even get back and unpack from Omaha. The draft is July the 13th, so that gives you about 3 weeks until then. You've got to juggle. I'm trying to get this straight in my head. You're preparing for the national championship. I mean, this is everything you play for, is everything you work for. But you got to spend part of your day trying to make sure that next year's team is not falling apart while you're trying to win this one. And Dan, man, that's a hell of a schedule to have to juggle.
Yeah, and but that's the job now.
Yeah.
And what it is you just give up your private life, so to speak. Like, you don't have any fun. Your fun is working. You have to have that mindset. And Jay, of course, does that. I mean, when I was coaching at LSU with Skip, we had the same thing. We were fighting the major league draft, but we didn't have the internet. They would call people at their house. Kids would be upset they weren't drafted, but they called the house, left a message on the answering machine, but mom and dad were in Omaha. And, now the draft is pretty open and they fight it. And you've got the transfer portal that you're dealing with, but we were dealing with high school kids and everything else. So it's all the same. But the thing that people have to understand is when we would go to Omaha, the people would be out there, hey, coach, come on in, we're having a great time. And our response was, guys, I'm sorry, but I'm working my butt off to make sure you continue to have a good time because you want me to win. So I really don't have time, although I'd love to sit down and just have a good time with you because every second counts right now. And like you said, Charlie, you're playing for the national championship, but you're trying to win the next one while you're doing it. And it's a tremendous amount of compartmentalization, focus, and multitasking at the same time.
I can still remember the 96 the day before the 96 game, and I'm trying to remember the staffer, but you might remember, but they were trying to get a VCR hooked up in the hotel room to tape the Miami. I forgot who they played. It might have been Alabama.
Clemson.
Clemson, yeah. They were
It was
trying to,
me, Charlie. It was me.
it was no, I
I
would
was
have
the
remembered.
staffer.
Well, I would have remembered you. But yeah, trying to get a VCR set up in the room to tape the Miami Clemson game from the days before, and I mean it's before internet, really. So
Oh, yeah.
that's how the job has changed a little bit. It's like, hey, what are you occupied with? I'm trying to figure out the TV in room 214. We're trying to get a VCR hooked up to it to tape the game so that we can go back and watch it on VHS before the national championship game.
Pitch by pitch, slow by slow, fast forward, reverse, fast forward, reverse. So, you saw how hard it was to get it hooked up. Well, now you got to watch the game. You got to break it down. Somebody's at the stadium. They're doing live. They're doing a live scouting report. And then you meet, and then you get through everything. Then you get your report together. You punch it out on the computer. Then you bring the team in, and you got to go through the VCR. It's not like you can clip it like you do on a computer now, and you got to go through it and go through everything. So it's just a different way to do things. But and we had less people and less specialists. So it was pretty, you had to be very versatile back in those days. You had to be able to do a lot of things. But now you've got to be excellent at what you do because everybody's got people to do those things.
Yeah, you get those things done. Now your time is rather on the transfer portal. That's where your contacts are. Well, what are you doing with that time that you were setting up the VCR? Well, now I'm getting to a kid that may or may not be with us next year. Somebody that's trying to transfer in or trying to transfer out. So it's a heck of a thing. But what we saw in the last week going to go down. The long history of LSU baseball. Dan, I asked another coach last week. So I said, "What do you think is going to happen in the championship series?" He said, "Well, I think LSU is going to win 2 close games." I texted him back on Sunday night. I said, "You got any stock tips?" Because you know this pretty good. But going back to last Wednesday night when they played Arkansas, one of the more bizarre endings of a game for anybody really. But LSU scoring 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th inning, and Dan, this was where Arkansas really opened the door for LSU. They made some mistakes. Aloy made a mistake at short. Davelin made a mistake in left field. Robinette, the first baseman, crashing on a ball that probably should have let go to second. And that opened the door for LSU to get in position to have Jared Jones win that game. Feels like ancient history now. It's been less than a week, but that was a a bizarre type of ending for LSU's win against Arkansas.
Well, Charlie, when things like that happen, first of all, the mistakes happened. Arkansas made some mistakes. But let's not forget, LSU just jumped on those mistakes and took advantage of every single bit of those mistakes, and that's the key to victory. So you can say, yeah, Arkansas choked or Arkansas didn't do well, or they did this. LSU did the job, and when you're in a close ball game, that's the difference, and that's why LSU wins 8 national championships, because I said this last podcast. It's in the DNA of the program. If you go to LSU, you're supposed to win that game. You're supposed to deliver the hit with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th inning. You're supposed to capitalize on mistakes. You're supposed to make a great catch. You're supposed to strike out the right guy. It's expected when you walk in the door, and if you sign up and you're not capable or you're not in that mindset, then you should go somewhere else.
Just can't tell you how long and how hard it is to establish a culture that strong over this long period of time. We're brought to you by Dependable Storage, with 8 locations in Louisiana and 1 in Gulfport, Mississippi. They'll match any competitor's pricing, convenient online rentals and payments, free use of the moving truck for new rental move-ins, and clean, secure, and conveniently located facilities. Check out the website at dependablestorage.com for locations, pricing, and rentals. Like Skip Bertman says, at Dependable Storage, we want your stuff. And by Dana Brown at the law offices of O.C. Brown for over 20 years. Dan and I have used Dana and his team of attorneys for various legal needs. They'll help you out too, carrying on his father OC's legacy. They should be your first and only call. Your law firm for a lifetime. It's the law firm of O.C. Brown. 225-343-1111, and on the web at OCBrown.com. Dan, you've been watching you watched a lot of pitchers come through here. Seen a lot of great pitched ball games. Where does Cade Anderson's 3-hit shutout in the national championship game 1 of the series rank up there?
Tell you what, it's got to rank up with 3 performed Paul Skeens.
Yeah, against Louder. Yeah.
It's got to rank there with Brett Laxton in the championship as a freshman against Wichita State.
Shut him out. Strikeout record.
It's right there with the top 3 of all time. That was an outstanding. I'm going to say, living on the North Shore here, he's the pride of the North Shore, and people here are very excited. Out of St. Paul's High School up here in St. Tammany Parish, and great family, great kid, and I'm very happy for the family and for the entire North Shore because he's their guy. And I kind of joke, Cade not only won it for LSU, won it for all the people, loves LSU and loves that team. But Charlie, he made a lot of money in the World Series, in the professional draft.
I think I'm going to amend that just a little bit, Dan. I think he made a lot of money this season. I think the World, I think he was potentially the top pick if he had gone to Omaha and just had an average outing. This solidified it. I think he made a lot of money this season. You said last year Anderson was a reliever mostly, started a couple of games.
Midweek
games. And I think he started maybe 1 in SEC play. But you said, listen, this guy's going to be a first-round pick. And I wasn't sure. I thought, he had that potential, but I wasn't sure. You said, no, he's going to be a first-round pick. Didn't pitch the senior year at St. Paul's, but he played. He just didn't pitch. Give him a year. Let the arm get back. Let the command get back. He's going to be a first-round pick. And, boy, did you nail that. So when you've known this kid a long time, you look at him from the time of the injury to the guy that went out and threw the 3-hit shutout in Omaha. How did he do this? What did he develop? What characteristics? What in the arsenal changed for him as he went from prospect to top pick?
Remember, he went through 2 pitching coaches too.
Yeah.
People don't. Wes Johnson, and then of course Nate Yeskie. Number 1, his parents did the right thing. They got the surgery. They didn't let him pitch his senior year, but he rehabbed. And they coordinated with LSU. He's got a great agent in Scott Boris, so it was all coordinated. But the kid put in the work. You know what I'm saying? It's take it from a guy, and Charlie, he had a hip replaced. I had a couple knees and a hip replaced and an ankle. That rehab is the hardest part. But to get back to the level that he had to get back to is a credit. Same thing for Chase Shores. And it's a credit to LSU's medical staff and the training staff and the rehabilitation people and the pitching coaches. I mean, Wes Johnson deserves a lot of credit for getting Cade where he is when he was the pitching coach. And Yeskie took it a step further after he was healthy and he's coming back. Yeski got him 2 extra pitches from what he had walking in the door and developed him, and they're part of an arsenal that's big league caliber. He's got a big league fastball. He's got a big league curveball. Now you throw in a slider, cutter, whatever you want to call it, and a straight change. And he's about as complete a pitcher as you can get from the left side. And then as you saw in Omaha, the kid played center field and batted third in high school. He's a great athlete. So he can field his position. He can hold runners. He's just a complete package.
Can you tell me how difficult it is to develop that third or fourth pitch at the college level? And I'm going to use just a recent example. Paul Skeens, who set the strikeout record, okay, basically was working with 2 pitches, maybe 3, but basically 2 pitches. It was the fastball and it was a slider. I mean, he threw 2 different versions, but now he's in the major leagues and he's got, I don't know, it seems like half a dozen pitches. But most of these guys, even if you're as dominant as Skeens or Nola was, you're working primarily off 1 fastball, 1 breaking ball. And this guy, every time, it's a 4-pitch mix, a 4-pitch mix. You don't see the 4-pitch mix. They say that. But like I said, even with Skeens, it was basically 2, 90% of the time. How in the world did he develop 4 pitches that he used as extensively? The curveball strike percentage of over it was 20 out of 22 curveballs for strikes in that game that we're talking about. And then to be able to throw the change and I'm sorry, that's just not normal. That's just not something that happens even with really talented kids.
I was going to say to you, that's the difference. It's not normal. The kid's got a gift. Okay.
Yeah.
Pitching is a lot of feel. Everybody's caught up in velocity, spin rates, and all that. But the kid's got a feel for the baseball. I don't think you can teach a kid how to have control, but I think you can teach a kid with control how to be a better pitcher. And I think Nate Yeski has taken that to the nth level, meaning the one thing that Cade Anderson had is he had a fastball he could throw where he wanted to and a curveball that was big league that he had command over. Well, when you're confident with those 2 pitches and your pitching coach is confident with those 2 pitches, you can say, okay, let's take 10 minutes, 15 minutes in our bullpen session. Because remember, folks, pitchers can't throw every day. So when you get a time in a bullpen or you get time to work on flat ground, you've got to maximize that time because you've only got so much time and so many throws before you have to rest. It's not like a position player can work on hitting every day. You can't do it. You got to pick your spots. So that focus and concentration, but also condensed repetitions. And because he had command of the other pitches, he didn't have to spend as much time fixing those pitches so he could work on getting better. And Yeski did a great job with that and brought it in the fall and brought it into inter squads where it didn't matter and had a long-term plan rather than a short-term plan.
One more thing about that game before we move on to game 2. Milam gets an RBI single in the first inning. That's the only run scored in the game. He was pitching with no margin for error. You hang 1 pitch, you hit a guy and then you hang 1 pitch and you're behind. And look, it happened to LSU in 2013. Aaron Nola was out there. He didn't give up an earned run the whole game, but they lost, just a couple of plays and they ended up losing a 2-1 game. He's out there as if there's not enough pressure, Dan. It's game 1 of the national championship series. The stadium's full. Everybody's watching on TV. You're pitching with a 1-run lead. And the other guy's pitching pretty well, too. So that's it. That expanded pressure that he pitched with in this game was amazing to me that he was able to keep it together and not really make one big mistake.
Well, I've seen this a lot recently. Pressure is a privilege. Okay. He was privileged to be out there because he's out there in the biggest game of his life. Okay. But also, I'm convinced it was a game he prepared for his whole life. And so, in that moment, he didn't feel pressure because he had prepared for it his whole time. You always want to pitch at LSU. You always want to pitch in the national championship games. Okay. You always want to throw a shutout. You always want to face best competition if you're a competitor. But then again, gifts from God. He's got the right family. He's got the right mom and dad. He had the right coaches. Everything worked. And he prepared for that moment. So, and you're playing for the team that's supposed to win that game. He was just focused on doing what the team needed and having that team mentality and the team knowing that that's what he was doing makes you much stronger than the other teams. And again, I'll say it time and time again, that's what makes LSU special. It's just different than the other places.
Yeah, Anderson. One of the first games he watched might have been at the College World Series with LSU playing, and we're not talking about ancient history here. We're talking about the 2000s, the 2000 teens. Those were games that he grew up watching. We'll move on to game 2 here, but we want to tell you about Lake Urgent Care. 25 years of experience dedicated to providing quality care close to home. Treat minor illnesses and injuries from ages 3 months and up at 17 convenient locations: Baton Rouge, Hammond, Livingston, and Ascension parishes, offering occupational health and weight loss solutions. As a seamless extension of Our Lady of the Lake, patients can access care from anywhere with the MyChart patient portal. Our urgent care centers are open 7 days a week. You can walk in, check in online, or schedule a virtual care visit at lakeurgentcare.com. Now let's talk about Anthony Ianson, who was, I thought, really, really good in game number 2. Dan, about halfway the season, Anthony Ianson, I think, turned a corner. I thought he was good in the first half of the season. In the second half of the season, I thought he was great. And you can kind of talk to our audience about the development that he made and what he was able to do, because we talk about stepping it up, the next level and all that. Anthony Ianson took it to the next level, and he was as important as anybody on this team really all season, but boy, did he step it up in the second half.
He really did. And again, 4-pitch mix. Change up was his pitch. Ended up throwing some cutters and some curveballs, located his fastball, didn't walk anybody. I mean, the guy, in the championship game, he walks 1 and strikes out 9. Only gives up, he gives up 7 hits, but there's nobody on base and the team doesn't make errors. He's just a high percentage pitcher and going to have a nice career in the big leagues, being like a 4th or 5th starter that gets you into the 6th inning with a chance to win the game. I mean, a kid, and he's obviously a great teammate. He likes the pressure, and he's got a lot of confidence in his ability. So I can't say enough about what he did. And, of course, the relationship that he and Cade Anderson have, where there's no egos involved. That's another big thing. They're rooting for each other, and the team picks up on that, and that makes a big difference.
Here's what else I like about Ianson, and I'll give Jay Johnson credit, and of course he knows a gazillion more than I do, but I wasn't wild about the move in the SEC tournament when he brought Ianson in relief. And my reasoning at the time was, well, I know Ianson can come in and close, but did I? He never pitched in relief this season. So they put him in a relief situation, and then they bring him back on a short rest in the regional. Well, they may have had to use him in relief on short rest in the College World Series had things turned out just an eyelash differently. And we talked about this on the last podcast. Look, LSU won that game against Arkansas on Wednesday night. If they hadn't, they would have had to use some combination of, even if it just goes to the 10th and they win it in 13, they got to go to some combination of Ianson on short rest in relief, and then use up Anderson and maybe Ianson again on Thursday. So Ianson filled a lot of different roles, and I don't want to take that for granted, because, man, when you send a guy out there, second start every weekend from February all the way to the end of May, and then you say, okay, now hang on. Now I got some other stuff for you to do that you might have to do. You get them out of their routine. You have to respond to that, and Ianson did. I thought he was phenomenal.
Yeah, and like you said, Charlie, again, it goes to the coaching staff. They prepared for every situation they might have, and you got to put Ianson out there in that closing situation. You got to put him out there with short rest so you can see what you get, and so he can experience it. And if it's not good, you got a chance to clean it up and maybe try it again. So that's great coaching. That's great preparation, and nobody's going to outcoach or out-prepare Jay Johnson and his staff. I'm sorry. There's just nobody better in the country.
Tell me about Chase Shores.
Oh, my gosh.
At the end of the season, this guy looks like well, I mean, he looked like the new Skeens there for just a little bit. He's coming out there throwing 101 miles an hour, and you just feel like, man, he's going to overmatch everybody. Doug Thompson, who's been with us for most of the season, traveling today, but he pointed this out earlier. Wait till he gets to 50 innings. Wait till he gets to 50 innings. Dan, when he got to 50 innings, he was a beast.
Yeah, and I tell you what, he threw the other night. 101 with sink. I mean, that's crazy. Yeah. And then you throw a slider in there, it's unfair at 91. Okay, this guy's going to be a middle reliever or a closer. I think he found his niche to go in there for an inning or 2 innings and just beat Chase Shores, and that's going to play in the big leagues. That stuff is going to play.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a closer. I really do. I mean, he may have some things to work on when he gets to professional baseball, but um, he looks like a big league closer. You come in there at 6'8" and 240 pounds or whatever he is, and throwing 101. That's big league. That's
Yeah,
big
he
league closer
passes the
stuff.
bus test, as we say. When he comes
Yeah.
off the bus, he's okay.
Can I tell you something else that I really liked about this weekend, Dan? I loved it, and they did this a few years ago for Josh Thompson. Um, Michael Braswell comes up, and he had been fighting it. Okay, he was 1 for 30, whatever it was, and the fans, like they did with Thompson to pick him up, they give him a standing ovation. Okay. Now, I want to say this about Braswell. Without his glove, some plays that he made look easy, this might not have gone exactly the way LSU wanted it. If he just makes a couple of errors, or just not even errors, but balls that he couldn't get to, that nobody could get to. No, he makes some great plays. The crowd got behind him. He got a hit in his last at bat, and I was really happy for him. I don't want to downplay what his defense meant to LSU.
Well, what people don't understand is, and I'm into coaching youth league baseball now with kids, and it's so hard to separate offense and defense when you're playing baseball because there's no time. In football, you're an offensive player, you're a defensive player. In baseball, you got to do both. He was able to do the hardest thing for a competitor to do and for a baseball player to do, and that is, I'm not swinging the bat, so I'm just going to go out and play defense and help my team win. Like, I'm not going to bring those at-bats or those lack of hits out to the field. On the other hand, he took the fielding to the next level in my book, which shows really a lot of competitive courage. And so he handled it well. And the second thing I want to say is, excuse me, only LSU fans do that. Like, they just are so educated and so in tune with everything. That only happens at LSU, and that's part of the program that makes it the best one. The fans love the players, understand their feelings, and they felt they could make Braswell feel appreciated because they appreciated what he did for that team. And to me, I got some tears in my eyes because that's what makes this place special.
And for Braswell and Luis Hernandez, who came in here for a year, and boy, I'll tell you what, he was dialed in the second half of the season, and defensively just came so far. Those are the pieces that you added. Now that's what Jay Johnson's got to do now, which is start to which he's already started a long time ago, putting together next year's team. And listen, before the draft's still 3 weeks away, we don't know who's going to get here. The transfer portal, LSU's just starting to get active now that they got back from Omaha yesterday. But I want to talk about a couple of things before we wrap up, Dan. Obviously, Jared Jones and Daniel Dickinson will be moving on, along with Kate Anderson and Ianson and Shores. And then what you're going to bring back is pretty strong. If you're going to bring back Derek Curiel and Jake Brown and Stephen Milam, I mean, man, that's a really good place to start. And then Kate Beatty, who got a lot of at-bats for a backup in SEC play. We'll see what Ashton Larson decides to do. I like John Pearson an awful lot. Probably needs to get in a little bit better shape, but he can hit. And then a Zach Cowan, a Connor Ware, hopefully Jaden Newt. You'll get Gavin Guidry back from the season-ending injury. You may get Tanner Reeves back. I think all of those guys makes for a really solid base for next year. And I'm going to get to Ethan Fry. I'm going to put him in a different category, but just the ones we know that are coming back, Dan, it gives you a really good place to start.
It gives you a good base, and they know the coaches. They know what it takes to get there. And some of them were players in this national championship, but not the role they wanted, or not as big a role. But they understand it's their turn to step it up as part of being a little brother to the big brothers that have won it before. There's a pride that's in the program. I'm going to say this: as of right now, this could be the first year where Jay Johnson returns his staff.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not forget, Jay's been out of a coach every year since he took over. And that's hard, especially when you're trying to keep up with everything. So what a job they're going to do with our entire staff coming back. So the familiarity is good. It's not you have to learn everybody all over again. So carrying that many players back is big for the program.
And for guys like, William Schmidt and Cooper Williams and Maverick Rizzi and DJ Primo, I would just say go pitch this summer. Go get some innings, because these are all premium arms. These are all really talented kids that just had limited work this year. Had some and had some success. Just need to pitch more, kind of like Cade Anderson last year. Anderson needed to pitch some more coming off the injury. Got out in the offseason, did it. That's what I would say to those guys. But you're the pitching coach. You tell me.
William Schmidt is next year's Cade Anderson. That's what I'm going to say. He's that guy.
Drop the mic.
Ready to,
Drop the mic.
Drop the mic.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now I got to ask you about Ethan Fry, because I think he's the one kid that's really got a decision to make. Fry had a really good year. He started 46 out of the 68 games. He had 331, 13 homers, 50 runs batted in. And there were times, in the regional round where he got some of LSU's biggest hits. Right now, MLB.com's got him projected at 130. Now, that's not gospel. That's just a guess. Okay. That puts you in the back half of the fourth round. Maybe they're off a little bit. If you're Ethan Fry and you decide to take, fourth round money or third round money, maybe somebody likes him better than that. That's cool. But if he came back, Dan, and Jared Jones had this decision to make last year, you want to come back and we'll plug you into the middle of this lineup. They're going to be good again, and they'll get you a position, because almost all of his work this year was as a DH. So maybe he's a left fielder. Maybe he's a first baseman. I don't know. But if he comes back and plays a position all year and continues to put up these offensive numbers, he could move himself up the draft board. So I don't think it's a slam dunk either way. I think he's got a decision to make.
I think he's got a decision, but to me, this is just me talking, why wouldn't you come back in this day and age for the NIL money rather than take minor league salary? Fourth round, you haven't played a position. Like we said about Chase Shores, he was hurt for a couple of years. He really just started to play this year. Hasn't played a position, although he can, but the lineup was stacked, and be the centerpiece of the second national championship in a row. Like, that's the way you got to look at it, because the bottom line is he'll still go fourth round next year.
Or higher.
He's still going to go fourth round, but he could go first round if he does what we think he can do, and he plays a position like Jared Jones. Maybe he becomes a great defensive first baseman that hits homers, big, strong kid, becomes a better hitter, another year of work with the coaching staff. Why go? If I'm a dad, I say, why go? You're going to get big-time money for NIL to stay, and you can only raise your bonus money by having a good year.
It's not, when you guys were recruiting, there was no NIL. It was just
right.
Okay, and you didn't even have a full scholarship. Those
come
rules,
back, we'll give you lunch.
Yeah, those rules on the scholarships are changing too. I'd love to see him back. I wish him well, whatever he does, but I'd love to see him come back here, play first base or play left field, and drive his. Don't you think Jones made himself some money this year?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely moved up from where he was a year ago. Dan, it's been a pleasure as always. Want to thank Dana Brown and his group over at the law firm of O.C. Brown, Our Lady of the Lake, Lake Urgent Care, Bayou Apparel, Marucci, and Dependable Storage. They've been our sponsors all year through football and baseball. Thanks to Doug Thompson for his contributions, to Richard Dixon for his contributions back in football season. Richard's going to be back with us in the fall. But it's been a pleasure, my friend, and it was certainly fun watching all the way through with this thing. So enjoy your summer. Football be here before you know it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I want to say one thing, though, Charlie, in closing. I couldn't be happier with the guys on the wall behind me for that guy. He's had one of the hardest years you could ever have. And Jay Johnson's a great coach, but he's a greater human being. With the way he's embraced Skip in the program, made him part of it, and really has a great relationship with Skip on a human level, not just on a professional, on a human level, means the world to me, because you and, of course, Charlie, everybody knows how close I am with Skip and how much I owe to him. But the way Jay's handled it, and I think the boys kind of sensed that let's win this one for Skip. He needed it. And so I feel good for Skip. I think he's very, very proud and happy where the program is, and know that he can feel comfort that Jay's running it. And I think that's great for everybody.
Well said, and was happy as all get out to see the skipper up there to watch him win number 8. For Dan Canevari, I'm Charles Hanagriff. We will be back. The podcast going on hiatus until the right before football season starts. But for Tuesday, June the 24th, this has been the Hannycast.
Having a life scholarship and being able to afford to go to college made me feel inspired to go.
When I got a life scholarship, it was such a relief.
I knew that I wanted to have an impact. Having a life scholarship through the SC Education Lottery was huge. It gave me the opportunity to make that impact right here at home.
The South Carolina Education Lottery. A better you, a better us, a better South Carolina. Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.